Right, so today we're here at Jack Shack, and Jack Shack have kindly offered to fit a Clayton power unit in one of our demo vans that we've been using for marketing and for development of various different parts. So Clayton Powers, we spoke about them before, but they are the simplest and easiest way to get power in your vehicle, and we're talking proper power, not just your 12 volts or in your fridge. We're talking 240 power that can run your hair straighteners, your hair dryers, your induction hobs, charge your MacBooks, all those things that you want to do. So proper power and off grid. So we're going to put that in the van here. Frank is going to run through that. He's going to show us a basic kind of setup and how you would route it. Every build is different, so where you place things is entirely up to you, but we'll show you a guide of where it would go. Let's head inside, let's catch up with Frankie, and let's get this Clayton power unit installed. So you've probably seen this short wheelbase red T6 on some of our previous videos. So this is going to have a U-shaped setup in it. Now this is actually having the original rubber flooring, so we're not going to use the Clayton bracket, but we'll show you how you would use that if you were putting it down to a solid wooden floor. So U-shaped setup with the Clayton power unit in the back there, and we'll show you where you would wire various different bits up. So moving over here to the Clayton power unit, all the various bits that you need come with it, but we'll explain that in more detail. I just wanted to explain briefly about the Clayton power unit and the different options you would have. So one of the questions we get quite a lot is, which Clayton power unit should I use? So in this particular vehicle, we're using the 2500 unit. So just as a very quick rough overview, you've got a 1500 unit, a 2000, 2500 and a 3000 unit, and you've got soon there's additional bolt-on battery packs that are coming, so you can continue to add more storage if you need to. This is the 2500 unit. Now what that means is this can run a maximum of 2500 watts anytime. 1500 is 1500 watts, 2000 is 2000, and so on. So the 3000 unit is the one that's quite different in the fact that it also has double the storage. So if you're doing a big install, if you're doing a craft, or if you think you're going to use a lot of power, or you just want to have as much backup as you possibly can, the 3000 unit is the one to go for. If like this one, it's just a very simple day van conversion, the smaller units will absolutely be fine. It's way more power than people are ever used to, especially when you add things like solar panels, give yourself a hookup if you need one, and just because of how fast they charge DC to DC. So when the question comes up, which unit do I go for, it's up to you. Work out what the most power output you're ever going to run at one time. If you've got an induction hob going in yours and it runs 1700 watts at its maximum point, you know you need a minimum of a 2000 unit. Always scale up though, just buy the most expensive one you can, I would say, just to give you that kind of backup. You know, the more you have the better. Only other thing that's different is the 1500 unit, so it's called the 1500 SC. That doesn't have the ability to add the additional battery packs or solar. So if you're thinking of going for solar, start at the 2000 unit and above, go for the biggest unit you possibly can and the biggest inverter you possibly can. So you'll get most of the things you need in this unit. So you're going to get the Clayton power, you're going to get various different cables. In this particular vehicle, we'll show you where to mount the bracket, but because it's had the rubber floor, we wouldn't use the bracket. We're going to strap this to the cupboard. You may decide to go for a remote control. We're going to put one of them in there, and we're also using our cable kits that you can buy with the unit. It's simple and it's all there for you. Some of the conversion companies will just create this themselves, but for the ease of conversions, if you're doing it yourself for a home install, all the power kits and cables are just there. We'll run through with you. So we'll go through this as we go along. A few of the bits. We're not going to show you how to install it at this stage, but we're going to show you how you would connect this bit. But they can go, that's your electric hooker point in various different points in the vehicle, whether you have an e-grill, whether you have stealth door flaps, or whether you would mount it underneath. Fuses for your 12 volt, and then how you would run a 240. But we'll cover that as we go along. So I'm going to bring Frankie in now. Frankie's going to go through this install and just show you how simple it is to get this system set up in your vehicle. So we're going to give you a guide on how to do it anyway, but the Clayton actually comes with a really simple to follow installation guide in various different languages, and it takes you through the step-by-step where you connect all the various points, how and which part goes to your solar, which part goes to your battery, and so on. And then also additional information there if you were going to be running the supercharger. Now in this van, just because of what its usage for, I wouldn't bother with a supercharger. I don't think it's necessary. It's going to charge itself quick enough anyway by just being used off the alternator. But when we come to do our next video, we're going to come back here and Frankie's going to very kindly wire up our crafter with the Clayton powers and the additional units. We'll put a supercharger in that and we'll run you through all those extra connectivity and points that you made in and that. But for now, simple setup. So let's crack on and get this unit in. Right, so just spinning the Clayton unit round just to show you what's on the back. We'll go through each section of these as we install it. So first of all, we're going to do the 12 volt. So that's the DC out. You've got your DC plus and your DC minus. So Frankie's just made up these two little leads with ring terminals on each end, and they're going to be connected to just a simple 12 volt fuse. So you're then going to run this to your 12 volt fuse. So these little things you can get off Amazon, off eBay, you can get them from loads of hardware stores, but it's just a simple little setup that you can screw in, plus and minus, it's very self-explanatory that you can fuse. Then you're going to connect each individual 12-volt appliance to this, so lights, fridge, tap in this particular van. So we'll show you that as we build that. Really simple, easy to connect straight into the back of the unit there. Right, so the next thing to do is earth the Clayton unit to the vehicle. So the beauty of where it's being put here is it can just go in this lashing point here, or this connection point. So one of the original lashing points for the van can go straight here. So what Frankie's going to do is just sand the paint off there, and then that can be bolted straight down. So this is all part of the cable kit that we can supply with the vehicles. Here's the nice short one. That's going to go straight from the minus in the DC in, straight to the earth point there, so the chassis of the vehicle. Okay, so that's done. So the earth's now installed, sanded some paint away there, so you can put that earth to anywhere on the chassis really, but that just seems to be a really convenient port using the nice short cable. So the next thing is the biggest and probably the most challenging part, and that's running this to the front of the vehicle to your battery. So Frankie's going to show you where he would do it on a transporter. There's a couple of options. You could run that underneath the vehicle and out, or you can run it through the panels there and then through, but we'll show you the route you would take if you're running it inside the vehicle. So on the back of the unit, we're going to run the positive to the DC in, so that's the big long red cable that comes in the cable kit. So it comes with a 60mm cable, and that's 5 meters long. So we get away with that in this particular vehicle because we can run it under this really soft rubber spongy floor. So we've routed this through that same lashing point down along under the floor, underneath the cab. We've taken the seats out and it's just popped up the other end, and we're going to show you how to pop it through a grommet in the underside of the engine bay there and bring it up into the battery. Now if you're running it further distance than this, you will need a thicker cable. So this is 16mm, that's fine for 5 meters, but if you're extending it, putting it further back here, or you're putting it in a crafter or something, you're going to need to get one of your own cables of these made, but you'll need thicker than a 16mm cable. So the grommet we spoke about is under your scuttle panel just here. So you just pull this trim off, pop your scuttle panel up, it just pops up. Then underneath the scuttle panel, if you can just see in the bottom back corner just there, that's the grommet you can pop out to bring the cable through. Right, so what Frankie's doing now, he's just going to use this, just to make it easier, he's going to use a feed cable. So he's just running this cable through that grommet from this end and then round the other side. He's just going to pick up that feed cable from underneath the dash. Yeah, then tape that to the cable we've just run underneath the floor and then pull that back through. So you just pull that feed cable through and there's your cable come back through under here. So that's the grommet that was in that hole. Frankie's just popped a little hole in there just to seal it again when he runs it back over the wire. So now you'll see the grommet's back in and the cable's fed nice and neatly through there and keeping it watertight. Right, so the next stage of the routing, if you can see, you can run it in through the wing. There's a hole there and you can run and route it out here. But what Frankie's going to do, he's got another grommet here. He's just going to cut a little hole in. He's going to drill a hole in the underside here and route it through there, just making sure it comes nice and neatly through and staying watertight. Right, so to get this panel out, it's just 2 T30s there and there, and then Frankie's just drilled a 20mm hole, sanded it, primed it, and then the grommet's going to go back in that hole there. Okay, so this all comes as part of the kit. So you've got your 60 amp fuse and your fuse holder and then the extra bit of cable. So what Frankie's going to do is connect this to the battery and to the fuse, and then this to the other end of the fuse, and then mount that here. It doesn't necessarily matter where you mount it, but this is quite a common location for you to mount that fuse. So that's all nice and neatly installed now. So you'll see Frankie's left the fuse out at this stage. That goes in afterwards. When everything else is done, the fuse goes in at the very end. So next, going around the back here, so setting up your 240. So inside the Clayton Power kit, you get this grey connector here. So that's for your 240 out. So what you can see here is Frankie's created this cable here. You'll see it's got those ready to just attach in here. It's fairly obvious when you get to this where you attach them. You've got your live, neutral and earth. So that then is going to be connected to this cable. This cable then is going to run to however you have your 240 plug socket. So in this particular van, it's going to have a pop-up 240 plug socket. And then connected in the back of the unit there where the 230, 240 out is. And then you've got your 240 in. So that's this cable here. So this one here is set out to just have it as a standard plug to plug it in. But what Frankie's going to do is remove this end here and put it on a cable like this for your charging point for your electric hookup. So depending how you decide to do this, you may decide that this is going to be an e-grill at the front. It might be, if you've got a tailgate, to have the stealth door flaps that we do, or mount it underneath the vehicle at back. This then is the point that you use when you get to your campsite. Your electric hookup feeds into there. This is then connected via that socket to the back of the Clayton Power unit. Right, so that's all wired up now. So you can see Frankie's put the connector on this cable here. The cable runs through, and this is just really for illustration purposes to show you how simple it is. And you can put your plug sockets wherever you want. What Frankie's done is he's put a standard, like you'll recognise at home, your 240 plug socket, because that's now what you've got. You've got 240 power to run your kettle, your toaster, your air fryer, your hairdryer, whatever you want here. And then here, as an example, here's one of those pop-up plug sockets that gives you the extension from there. Now the other option you could do is the front of the Clayton Power unit here is the 240 plug sockets ready to go. So you could run this off here to one of these, or wherever else you've got in your van, and then you could run this directly off the front 240 plug socket as well, just to give you more power points throughout the van. Right, so now you're 240 in, so this is your electric hookup when you're on your campsite. So you've probably seen one of these before. So this can be mounted anywhere on the vehicle. It's entirely up to you whether you put it underneath the vehicle. Some people have those sockets that go on the outside of the van. If you've got a tailgate vehicle, it's really nice to have the stealth door flaps that come out the bottom there. The e-grill is another way to do it, whether it comes from the front there, from the grill. But that's your electric hookup point. So that then feeds to that the blue clip that came on the plug that's in the pack. So you've got your standard 240 plug socket with a blue connector on it. You just strip that, repin it exactly as you should. You've got your positive, negative and your earth, and that then connects straight into the back of the unit there in the 230 240 input, and then you'll mount that wherever you like on the vehicle. But so just for illustration purposes, but just so you can see, that's how you would wire that up. Right, so if you're fitting solar, we won't do this install now, but it's really easy to explain. So this is one of our new THQ solar panels that we've designed for Vision Tech to go on their roofs. We're also going to have them in all different sizes. So this is a 100-watt panel. The Clayton can take up to 400 watts. So we're also working on a 400-watt fixed panel to go on the top of the Atec roof for the Crafter Man TG platform. But if you've got one of these solar panels, they'll have these connectors on. So we do a solar panel connector kit, and all that is it's the connectors you need to go from here to here to plug it into the back of the Clayton. You also get, with that cable kit, you get the little ring terminal ends as well. So with that cable kit connected, you're going to have the two cables with the ring terminals on. Your positive and negative are on your solar panels, well, they are on our panels anyway. So your positive is going to go to your C2 port, and the negative is going to go to your DC in minus. And then that's that. Then you just obviously mounting your solar panel where you want, normally on the roof. So next to is wiring up your ignition live. So this also comes in the cable kit. You've got the ring terminal on there. That's going to connect to your C1. Then the other end of it, this has already got the piggyback section on it. So this then you run to your fuse box. So on a T6, it's in the center section there, and you're trying to find an ignition live switch. So on this particular vehicle, it's the second one down on the right. That's going to give you ignition live. That's just got the piggyback on it, so you put the original fuse in and connect that up. And there you go, that's your ignition live, and you just run this then wherever you choose. So you can run it through the panel, or like we did the power cable under the floor if you're able to, and then up to the fuse board. So just up close here to give you an indication. So on this T6, the fuse box is just here. Now here on this one, it would be the second 5 amp, which is actually the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. That 5 amp fuse there is where you would put it. Now that's where it is on a T6. on a T6.1, it's going to be over there. Your fuse box is over by the driver's side door. So that's where the ignition live is on this particular vehicle, but they're all different. So I'm not saying definitely that's where you're going to find yours, but that's where it is on this vehicle. You just need to find an ignition live. That's the important part. Right, so next onto your remote. So this is part of the remote kit that you buy as an addition to the unit. So you can see on the controller here, it just gives you the ability to turn your 230 on and off, your 12 volt on and off, and it also gives you a jump start feature. So what that allows you to do is if you run your main battery down flat and you're on a campsite, you can use this jump start feature to charge your original battery, your main battery, to start the vehicle again. A great little feature because it's quite common for people to leave their stereo running or leave their air conditioning fans on and run the main battery on the vehicle down. Now I like the simplicity of a remote control. You can view the screen on the Clayton unit depending where it is, but if you want to just see at any point what your battery status is, or you want to turn those on and off, a nice hidden remote inside one of your cupboards. For me, my preference having over a big bright LED display. So it comes with instructions on how to wire that up. It comes with this little Clayton card here that shows you on the inside of the connector. It's not connected because you're going to need to run this cable through wherever you want to in the cupboards, but the card you just match up to the image on the connector and it shows you where each wire goes. There's an extra 2 wires in there, a green and a brown, but as it says they're not in use. And that's it. Connect that in up and you're good to go. And then that then connects into the remote port on the back of the Clayton unit just there. Right, so that's it then. That's the remote control wired up. So now it's done. So I'll just give you a kind of a brief run over again, just to clarify everything, just as a bit of a recap of the whole thing really. So this isn't obviously how you would lay it out in your van. We've just laid it out really simply so you can see, but you'll choose to route all of these wherever you want to do. But this gives you a rough indication and a guide of how you would lay it out, and most importantly how you connect everything. So on the back of the unit here, just to recap, you've got your remote control here which you can mount inside your cupboard. That remote control will allow you to turn the unit on. Your 230, you've just heard the fan kick in, your 12 volt on, and then you've also got your jump start feature. We'll go around the front and show the unit again in a second, and on the bottom of the remote control there, it shows you your status of your battery so you can see how much charge you've got. On the back here, your blue cable here into your C1 is going in straight into your fuse, into your ignition live. Your C2 would be your solar, which will go on this vehicle, but we've not done just yet. You've got your DC out plus and minus, which is going to your 12 volt fuse board there. So you'll run all your appliances, your 12 volt items into that. So you'll run your fridge, your lights, your tap and anything 12 volt into there with your fuses, and then back to your DC out. So your DC in, your plus and your minus. The red cable here is routed, in this case under the floor, to the battery of the vehicle, and the black cable, the DC minus, is then routed to your plug sockets. So on this one here we've got it just routed to a single 240 plug socket. In there you can plug all your appliances, your air fryer, your hair dryer, your hair straighteners. Induction hob is going to be quite a common one. Right, so moving around this side, just showing you the front of the unit. So as I said before, it's also got your 240 plug socket on the front there. So again, just for illustration purposes, we've just plugged this in here, which would be quite a common thing people fit in conversions. Just a pop-up plug socket that goes into the cupboards. So effectively an extension that you run off the front there. So on the front of the unit, you've also got your display, which you can turn on here, as well as the remote control. You can turn your 12 volt on, and your 230 on. Telling you some information about how much charge it is on there, and then you've obviously got your menu which you can play with to give you a lot more information. So that's it. It really is that simple to install a Clayton unit. So I think realistically, if your van's stripped out like this, it would take you no more than 2 hours to install this unit, as long as you've got all your cables in place. Really simple install, so much easier than your standard leisure battery install. And then depending what units you go for and how you have your unit, you know, if you've got a 3000 unit induction hob and a diesel heater, you can go gasless. That's the beauty of these now. When you've got these, there's no need to then have an underslung gas or a gas unit or a habitation certificate and running gas throughout the vehicle. These things will run induction hobs perfectly. Now, just talking to the guys at Jack Shack here, they are putting these in every single vehicle now with induction hobs. They're not putting gas in them. Now, they reckon it saves them a day and a half's labour in using one of these, an induction hob, than if they were using a standard leisure battery setup that doesn't give you the ability to run your 240 volt appliances and have to run gas in a vehicle. So it saves them a day and a half of labour alone, on top of the fact you've now got a vehicle that's not having to carry gas with them. So Clayton powers really are the future for the camper conversion market. And as I said previously, the 280 amp hour and the other additional battery packs are coming out very soon. If you decide there's not enough storage here because you've got a bigger vehicle, there's more people in them, you're doing it in a craft and you need extra storage, we're going to come back here with our crafter, take the Victron system out and install the Clayton with the additional battery packs and show you how easy it is to do that.